Hello everyone, welcome back to Sai Homeschool. Please like, share, subscribe my channel. So last class we finished explanation of metals and non-metals completely. Now we will discuss question and answers for metals and non-metals chapter. So here we studied about the physical properties of metals, that is whether it is solid, liquid, then exceptions we studied here. There we got one question. Give an example which metal which is means is a liquid at room temperature. We discussed in the first class physical properties. Mercury is a liquid at room temperature. So mercury is a metal, but it is a room temperature. It is a liquid. That is, so all the metals are solids except mercury. So then can be easily cut with the knife. So which metal we can cut easily? So all the metals are actually, it is a very hard, high melting and boiling points it is having. But while reading the exceptions, we studied that sodium and potassium are the metals, but it is very soft. Even we can cut it through the knife. That is, then is the best conductor of heat. Which is the best conductor of heat is silver. So is a poor conductor of heat. So we studied metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Lead is poor conductor of electricity. That is, so this is very important. They will ask examples of a metal, that in that exceptions they will ask. Then next question. Explain the meanings of malleable and ductile. We already know malleable and ductile, so that it is also involves in the metal physical properties of metal. Malleable means metals can be beaten into a thin sheets. That is malleable. Ductility means metals can be drawn into a thin wires. Here we studied thin wires even. So we can make a using small metal, we can make a long length of wires we can use. That much ductility and malleability the metals have. Then next question, why is sodium kept immersed in kerosene oil? While explaining the topics, we already said it is very important. They will ask why we should keep the sodium or kerosene. Means sodium is highly reactive and react vigorously with oxygen and moisture in the air, so that it will catch us a fire. To avoid these accidents, what we have to do? We have to kept in a kerosene to prevent this contact in a air and eye reactivity with air and water. Then write the equations for the reactions of iron with steam. So we studied it metals reacts with water, hot water, cold water and steam. That is, so iron reacts with steam. What will happen? We will get Fe3O4 and H2. Hydrogen gas will be liberated. Next, calcium with water. So calcium H2O, see we will get calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Then potassium with water. So when potassium reacts with water, we will get a potassium hydroxide and H2 gas will be liberated. Then next question, why do ionic compounds have high melting points? So ionic compounds have high melting point because we already studied ionic compounds have strong electroforce of attraction. So why strong electroforce of attraction will be present? Because of oppositely charged ions. Ions it will, they have a, if you take a water, H plus and OH minus ions will be present like that. Ions it will be present, that positively and negatively charged ions, oppositely charged ions, it will be, there is a more force of attraction between those ions. So large amount of energy is required to break this force. So there is a strong electrostatic force of attraction present. To break the ions, we need a more energy, large amount of energy. So they have high melting and boiling point. To get breakdown, we will get large amount of energy. So because of more electrostatic force of attraction between the oppositely charged ions. So last class only we discussed what is corrosion. We said spoilage of metal, that is gradual destruction of metals due to the action of air and moisture or chemicals is called corrosion, that is rusting of iron. And also we studied how do you avoid this corrosion. They will ask one question, define corrosion and write a methods to avoid the corrosion, or how do you avoid the corrosion. Then what is an alloy? Alloy is a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals or a metal and a non-metal. That is, so this is very important question. Definitely they will ask. So what are the alloys of brass? They will ask. It is a copper and zinc homogeneous mixture of two or more metals. That is, copper and zinc will become brass. Bronze is copper and tin. Steel is iron and carbon. That is very important. They will ask to write the what are the alloys, what are the metals present in the brass, bronze, steel. So what are the combination of metals present in these alloys? These are the alloys, brass, bronze and steel. Next, why are alloys made? We already know why we should do prepare alloys by using metals, two or more metals. So there is because to avoid the corrosion. We already know. So when we made with the two or more metals, if we keep a metal as it is, it will get corrode, it will change its color, or it may get rusting, it will happen. So if you made alloy, what will happen? It will increases the strength of that metal, improves the hardness, resists the corrosion, and improves the appearance. So the shiny what it will last when it reacts with the moisture and air, it will avoid, it will get a more strength. Then it will get more hardness and it will avoid corrosion. What happens when metal reacts with oxygen? What happens when metal reacts with oxygen? So when metals reacts with oxygen, you will get a metal oxide. One example you can write, magnesium reacts with oxygen, you will get MgO. What happens when zinc reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid? So when zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid, you will get zinc chloride plus hydrogen gas will be evolved. Then name two metals that do not react with water. So which do not react with gold and silver is very less reactive with water and air. Some metals which do not react with air and water, that is gold and silver. So if you, that is why these gold and silver will be used to make a ornaments. If you wear the ornaments even, it will not react with water. Then what is galvanization? Galvanization is also, so what we have to do is, so to avoid the rusting or to increase the, means here what will happen, iron will get react with air and moisture. To avoid that reaction, we have to do galvanization. That is the process of coating iron or steel with the thin layer of zinc to prevent rusting is called galvanization. That is what iron reacts with air and moisture very fast. So what will happen if we apply the coating of zinc? So zinc will avoid the spoilage of that iron. So that we should use the galvanization. That process what we are doing, coating iron or steel with a thin layer of zinc to prevent rusting is called galvanization. Then what is the reactivity series? And also you should write the order of those. Already last first chapter also we explained chemical reactions and equations, how the reactivity series it will be present, how the metal reacts based on the reactivity, how we arrange the metals. Then here metals and non-metals also there is a what is reactivity series. We already studied more reactive elements, moderate reactive elements and less reactive elements. That arrangement what we are doing. So the arrangement of metals in decreasing order of the reactivity is called reactivity series. The metals based on high reactivity, decreasing order. high to low reactivity. These metals are high reactive. If you come to middle, these are moderate reactivity. If you come to the last, this is very less reactive metals. So arranging these metals with a decreasing order based on their reactivity is called reactivity series. Then why is aluminium used for making cooking utensils? Why we should use aluminium? It is a good conductor of heat, light in weight, resist to corrosion, easily available. That is what what we are using. So aluminium used to making cooking vessels means, so aluminium is good conductor of heat to make the food. So it needs to conduct the heat easily, and light in weight. We have to handle the vessels always. Then resist to corrosion. So if it corrode, so it will be, the utensils will be spoils very early. So then, and also it is easily available. So rarely available means the cost of those things will be very high. So that aluminium you should be used to making cooking utensils. Then why is copper used for electrical wiring? So copper, why we should use copper? In electrical wiring means already we know we need good conductors of electricity. So copper is a good conductor of electricity. So that we used in a electrical wiring. Then it will be ductile. Ductile already we said we can be drawn into a thin wires. Wires we need for a long wires with a small quantity of metals. Then durable and resist to corrosion. These are because of if it gets rust again it gets spoils and the short circuits will be happened. So because of these all properties we should use copper for the electrical wiring. Then some important definition you should know from the metals and non-metals. What are metals? Metals are generally hard, lustrous, malleable, ductile and good conductors of heat and electricity. So already we know generally it is hard except few metals, lustrous except few metals, malleable. So already we studied, drawn into a thin sheets, ductile. We can drawn into a thin wires. It is also a good conductors of heat and electricity. The non-metals, elements that are generally brittle and poor conductors of heat and electricity. So these are opposite to metals we should write. Corrosion. Corrosion we already studied. Gradual damage of metals by air and moisture. Then alloy we just now we studied. Mixture of metals and two or more metals or maybe metal and non-metal. Galvanization is a coating of zinc with a coating iron with a zinc to prevent rusting. They will ask why we should do galvanization. What is galvanization? They will ask. These are the some important topics you should remember from the metals and non-metals. So thank you for watching.